one seed. That is all it takes. Not a greenhouse full of expensive transplants, not a perfectly prepared raised bed system, not years of gardening experience, or a degree in horticulture, or even a particularly green thumb. Just one seed pressed into a small pot of moist soil on a kitchen windowsill on an ordinary afternoon. And the chain of events that follows from that single small act has the potential to completely transform the way you eat, the way you spend your time, the way you see your yard, and the way you understand the living world around you. If you have ever thought about starting a garden, but convinced yourself it was too complicated, too expensive, too time-consuming, or simply not something people like you do, this guide is written specifically for you. Because I started with one seed, and what happened next is something I want every beginner in America to experience for themselves. The story of I started with one seed. Look, what happened is not really about any single plant. It is about the cascade of discovery that begins the moment. As the moment you choose to participate in the process of growing something from the very beginning. It might be a tomato seed pressed into a cup of potting mix on your kitchen counter in March. It might be a sunflower seed pushed into the soil at the edge of your driveway in April. It might be a bean seed dropped into a raised bed on a warm May morning. The specific seed almost does not matter in the beginning. What matters is the act of starting, because starting is the part that most people never do, and it is the only thing standing between the garden you imagine and the garden you actually have when you commit to the I started with one seed journey. The first practical decision you face is what to grow, and for complete beginners in the United States, the best answer is almost always something fast, something visible, and something edible. Fast-growing seeds give you rapid feedback that you are doing things right, which is the encouragement every beginner needs to keep going. Visible growth, the kind where you can watch measurable change from day to day, keeps the excitement alive through the between planting and harvest. And edible results, an actual tomato, cucumber, green bean, or herb that ends up on your dinner table, transform gardening from a hobby into something that feels genuinely essential to your life. Great first seeds for American beginners include tomatoes, zucchini, cucumbers, green beans, basil, sunflowers, nasturtiums, and lettuce, all of which germinate reliably, grow quickly, and deliver visible results within days of planting. Sunlight is the first fundamental requirement that every seed, every seedling, and every mature plant in the I started with one seed journey depends on, and understanding it correctly from the beginning saves enormous frustration later. Most vegetable and flowering garden plants require a minimum of 6 hours of direct sunlight per day to grow and produce well. This is not negotiable for fruiting crops like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and squash, which need 8 to 10 hours of direct sun to produce abundantly. Herbs like basil, cilantro, and dill also need 6 to 8 hours. Leafy greens like lettuce, spinach, and kale are the most forgiving, managing reasonably well with 4 to 6 hours, and are therefore excellent choices for partially shaded urban gardens. Before you plant your first seed outdoors, spend one full day in late spring observing. And exactly where the sun falls in your yard, on your balcony, or on your windowsill. Identify your sunniest spot and commit to using it for your most productive plants. This observation exercise is one of the most valuable things a beginning gardener can do, and it costs nothing. Temperature is the second variable that determines whether your seeds germinate successfully and whether your seedlings thrive or struggle after planting. Every seed has a preferred soil temperature range for germination, and understanding this prevents the frustrating experience of planting seeds that simply refuse to sprout because the soil is too cold or too warm. Tomato seeds germinate best when soil temperature is between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Bean and cucumber seeds germinate best when soil is consistently above 60 degrees. Lettuce and spinach seeds germinate readily in cool soil at 40 to 65 degrees, but often fail in warm soil above 75 degrees. A simple soil thermometer, available at any garden center for a few dollars, takes all the guesswork out of this equation and tells you exactly when conditions are right to plant each type of seed. For indoor seed starting, placing your seed trays on top of the refrigerator or using an inexpensive seedling heat mat keeps the soil in the optimal germination range, and dramatically improves germination rates for warm season seeds. The I started with one seed journey begins at its simplest, with nothing more than a small container. Some good quality seed starting mix, a seed, water, and light. Fill your container with moist seed starting mix, which is lighter and finer than regular potting soil, and provides the loose, well-aerated environment that delicate new roots need to develop without obstruction. Plant your seed at the depth recommended on the packet, which is generally 2 to 3 times the diameter of the seed itself. Cover lightly. Water gently with a fine mist so as not to disturb the seed's position. Cover the container loosely with plastic wrap or a humidity dome to retain moisture, and place it in a warm location with indirect light until germination occurs. Check daily, keeping the mix consistently moist but not waterlogged, and remove the cover the moment you see the first curved seedling stem pushing upward. From that moment, your seedling needs as much bright light as it can get. At least 14 to 16 hours of bright indoor light or placement in a south-facing window for successful growth before transplanting outdoors. Watering is the skill that most beginners struggle with more than any other, and it is worth spending time understanding deeply, because both overwatering and underwatering can kill seedlings and young plants quickly. In the earliest stage of the I started with one seed journey, when your seedling is small and its root system is shallow and limited, the soil in its container should be kept consistently moist, like a wrung-out sponge, never bone-dry and never saturated. Water small containers when the surface of the soil begins to feel dry to the touch, applying water slowly until it begins to drain from the holes at the bottom of the container, then stopping. This ensures thorough, even wetting of the root zone without creating the waterlogged conditions that cause root rot. As your plants grow larger and are eventually transplanted into garden beds or larger containers, your watering approach should shift to deeper and less frequent applications that encourage roots to follow moisture downward into the soil rather than staying near the surface. In a raised bed or in-ground garden, most vegetable plants need approximately 1 inch of water per week, from rainfall and irrigation combined. During hot, dry summer weather, this may mean supplemental watering 2 to 3 times per week. The best time to water is early morning, which gives foliage time to dry during the day and reduces the fungal disease pressure that late afternoon or evening watering creates. A soaker hose or drip irrigation system placed at soil level delivers water directly to the root zone without wetting foliage, conserves water through reduced evaporation, and dramatically reduces disease problems compared to overhead sprinkler irrigation. Soil is the foundation of the entire I started with one seed journey, and investing in good soil quality before planting is one of the highest return decisions a beginning gardener can make. Good garden soil is loose enough for roots to penetrate easily, rich enough in organic matter to hold moisture and nutrients while still draining freely, and biologically alive with the earthworms, fungi, bacteria, and other organisms that process nutrients into plant-available forms. In a new garden space, the fastest way to build excellent soil is to add generous quantities of finished compost, either made at home from kitchen scraps and yard waste, or purchased in bags from a garden center. Work 2 to 4 inches of compost into the top 8 to 10 inches of your existing soil before planting, which improves drainage in heavy clay soils, improves water retention in sandy soils, and immediately boosts the nutrient content and biological activity of any soil type. In a raised bed filled entirely from scratch, a mix of topsoil, compost, and either perlite or coarse sand creates an excellent growing medium that drains well, holds moisture appropriately, and supports vigorous plant growth from the very first season. Fertilizing in the I started with one seed garden follows the same principle as watering. Consistency and appropriate timing matter more than quantity. Most good quality potting mixes and compost-amended garden soils contain enough nutrients to support seedlings and young plants through their first several weeks without any additional fertilization. Once plants are established and actively growing, a light application of balanced organic fertilizer every 3 to 4 weeks through the growing season, maintains steady, healthy growth. Liquid fertilizers like fish emulsion and compost tea are particularly convenient for container plants and young seedlings because they deliver nutrients quickly in form roots can access immediately. Granular slow-release fertilizers, worked into the soil surface at the beginning of the season, provide a baseline of nutrition that feeds plants steadily over several months. The most important rule in fertilizing for beginners is to follow package directions and resist the temptation to apply more than recommended. Because excessive fertilizer, particularly nitrogen, pushes fast, soft, disease-prone growth and can burn plant roots. As your eye started, with one seed garden expands and matures through the season, pruning and training your plants becomes an increasingly important part of keeping them healthy, productive, and manageable. Tomato plants are the classic pruning challenge for American beginner gardeners. Because indeterminate varieties will grow indefinitely without intervention, spending energy on stem and leaf production at the expense of fruit. Removing the suckers that develop in the crotch, between the main stem and lateral branches on indeterminate tomatoes, keeping plants trained to one or two main stems on a sturdy stake or cage, focuses the plant's energy on producing the fruit you planted it for. Pinching out the growing tip of a basil plant, when it begins to develop flower buds, prevents the plant from going to seed, extending the harvest of aromatic leaves through the entire summer. Removing spent flowers, called deadheading, on ornamental plants like zinnias, marigolds, and petunias, stimulates continuous flowering through the season. These simple pruning interventions are quick, satisfying, and make an enormous difference in the productivity and appearance of your garden. Common problems in these started with one seed garden are unavoidable, especially in the first season when you are still learning to read the signals your plants send you. But almost every problem has a straightforward solution when caught early. Yellowing leaves are one of the most common symptoms beginners encounter, and while they can indicate several different problems, the most frequent causes are overwatering, nitrogen deficiency, or compacted soil that prevents proper root function. Check your watering frequency first. Allow the soil to partially dry between waterings. And if yellowing persists, apply a liquid nitrogen-rich fertilizer to see if color improves. Wilting plants on hot afternoons are not necessarily in trouble, because many plants wilt in peak heat and recover when temperatures drop in the evening. If wilting persists into the cool morning hours, the plant is genuinely water-stressed and needs irrigation. Aphids are among the first insect pests a beginning gardener encounters, and they are among the easiest to manage. These small, soft-bodied insects cluster on the undersides of leaves and on tender growing tips, sucking plant sap and excreting sticky honeydew. A strong spray of water from the garden hose dislodges most aphid colonies immediately and effectively. Where populations are persistent, insecticidal soap spray applied directly to the insects provides excellent organic control. Powdery mildew, a fungal disease that appears as a white powdery coating on leaves of cucumbers, squash, and many ornamentals in warm, dry weather, is managed by improving airflow around plants through spacing and pruning, avoiding overhead watering, and applying diluted neem oil spray as a preventive treatment once symptoms first appear. Cutworms are moth larvae that live in the soil and sever young seedling stems at the soil surface, a devastating occurrence that can wipe out a newly planted row of transplants overnight. The simplest and most effective protection is to place a collar of cardboard, paper cup with the bottom removed, or aluminum foil around the base of each transplant, pushed an inch into the soil, which physically blocks the cutworm from reaching the stem. Tomato hornworms are large green caterpillars that can defoliate a tomato plant with startling speed, but are easy to find and handpick because of their size. Slugs attack seedlings in cool, moist conditions and are managed with diatomaceous earth scattered around plant bases or beer traps placed at soil level. The most extraordinary thing about the I started with one seed journey is what happens to the gardener, not just to the garden. The person who pressed one tomato seed into a cup of potting mix on a March afternoon is a different person by October. They have learned to read the weather, to read their soil, to read their plants. They have developed a patience that the seed demanded, and a confidence that the harvest confirmed. They have discovered that the living world is more responsive, more generous, and more forgiving than they imagined. They have probably also started dozens more seeds, built a raised bed, composted their kitchen scraps, and begun planning next year's garden before this year's is even finished. This is what one seed can do. This is the I started with one seed story, and it belongs to anyone willing to begin. If you love learning about seasonal flowering plants, gardening tips, and nature care, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nature Nurture Hub, your home for year-round garden inspiration. Let's keep growing together.